For a long time, I believed that the way to become stronger was to go through hard things alone. Not because I wanted to or because others told me to, but that's what I thought strong people did. When life got hard, my instinct wasn't to reach out, it was to retreat. It was to tell myself, don't be a burden. This is mine to handle. Be strong, be resilient. So I did what many of us do. I tried to keep functioning. I tried to show up. I tried to move on, but really at times I just tried to survive. See, every time I made it through something on my own, the belief hardened. This is what resilience looks like. But it turns out that belief is incomplete. See, we're taught to think of resilience as an individual accomplishment, something that we muscle through with grit and willpower. We admire endurance, we reward toughness, and we praise the people who handle this, those who don't ask for help, those who don't fall apart, and those who keep going. Resilience becomes something we perform, and the better we perform it, well, the less support we receive. So it's no surprise that resilience feels like a solo venture. We've been taught that needing help is weakness and that healing should happen quietly, privately, and quickly. But scientifically, in ecology, biology, and even psychology, resilience is not endurance. Resilience is adaptation. Now, adaptation doesn't mean going back to where you were before, it just means reorganizing, becoming something new because of what you've survived and experienced. It is the capacity of a system to reorganize, adjust, and continue because of the connections that support it. And nowhere is that clearer than in a forest. Picture a forest, lush, green, alive, thousands of trees rising together, each one part of something greater than itself. A forest doesn't survive because each tree stands strong on its own. It survives because it's connected. See, beneath the soil is one of the most sophisticated communication systems on Earth, the mycorrhizal network. It is a symbiotic partnership between tree roots and fungi that create an underground web capable of transporting water, carbon, nutrients, and even chemical signals between trees. Fungi grow as microscopic threads that extend outwards from the roots and weave through the soil, connecting one tree to another. The fungi deliver something that trees cannot easily access on their own: water and essential nutrients like nitrogen and phosphorus. And what emerges is an underground network. See, some scientists like to call it the Wood Wide Web, and others, the original social network. Now, through this network, trees don't just coexist, they cooperate. They send carbon to seedlings that cannot reach the light yet. They release chemical warnings when pests attack, triggering defense responses in distant trees. And they redistribute resources from the healthiest individuals to the ones that are struggling. In other words, the forest takes care of its own. And what amazes me most is this: the most powerful part of this network is that it is completely invisible to us. You would never know, just by looking at a forest, how much life is being exchanged underneath you. There's something extraordinary happening in the natural world, and most of us never see it. Forests are not quiet. Trees are not solitary. They are constantly exchanging information beneath our feet. Now, if you could shrink yourself down and walk through the soil of a forest, you'd find a world far more complex than any city. Billions of fungal threads thinner than a strand of hair weaving through together into a living network. And all of this happens in silence. A hidden economy, a constant conversation, an infrastructure of care we rarely notice. Now, the more we study forests, the more we realize something profound. Resilience doesn't happen by accident. It is engineered into the system. So once you understand that every forest is held together by an invisible network of connection, you can't help but wonder what holds us beneath the surface. Think about a moment in your own life when something shifted, a loss, an unexpected challenge, a season where you weren't sure you were going to be okay. In those moments, what actually carried you? Was it willpower alone? Or was it a text message you didn't expect? A friend who showed up without knowing what to say, or maybe needing to say nothing at all? A parent, a partner, a colleague, or a neighbor? See, we like to tell the story of resilience as if it lives inside of us, but more often than not, it lives between us. And sometimes we don't see the network holding us up until we look back. During COVID, many of us learned what isolation really feels like. I was quarantined at home in Los Angeles, living with my best friend B and our dogs. I was pregnant. And one afternoon, I noticed something was wrong. And that's when the pain began. Now, because of COVID protocols, there was a drop-off line at the hospital and masks were required. And only the sick person was allowed inside. So B pulls up the car and I went inside and she waited just a couple 100 feet away. I checked myself in and I waited, and of course waited some more. And then I was taken into a room with a bed divided by thin curtains on both sides. And there were people everywhere. Other beds all with us together. On one side of me, someone was breathing through pain they couldn't hide. And on the other side, someone coughed relentlessly, a sound that felt heavier than noise, a sound I could feel in my own chest. Different stories, same room, same night, alone, separated by a curtain. Now the doctor comes in fully masked and I could barely see her face, and as soon as the ultrasound began, she told me I was having a miscarriage. I was scared, I was grieving, and in pain. I felt guilt, confusion, shame, all at once. And for a moment, I felt completely alone. Now, when I was finally discharged, B pulled back up in the pickup lane and I got in the car and we looked at each other. We didn't say a word, we didn't need to, we just cried. Now, here's what I understand now, something that I couldn't see then, was that even in that moment of isolation, I was not alone. B was there, waiting, holding space, ready the second I walked out. The nurses were there, steady, kind, skipping their breaks to care for us. And the doctors were there, risking their lives every day so that we could survive ours. And behind every curtain in that room, other people were enduring their own storms, just like in a forest. What looked like isolation on the inside was actually connection underneath. That night taught me something I will never forget. I wasn't resilient on my own. We were resilient together. I had my own human mycorrhizal network, quiet, unseen, and holding me up when I couldn't stand. So here's my challenge to you. You don't need to be the strongest tree in the forest. Strength is not the point. Connection is. The next time life knocks you down, don't ask, how do I get through this? But ask instead, who's holding me? Who can I reach for? What network exists beneath my feet? And most importantly, when someone else is struggling, be their network, be their roots, and be the steady presence that quietly says, I've got you. Because that is what real resilience looks like. Not independence, but interdependence. If forests can withstand storms because they are connected, imagine what we could withstand. Imagine who we could become if we chose to hold each other the same way. Not as isolated individuals, but as a living ecosystem, a human forest. Thank you.